Welcome to our spine safe mat Pilates. We're using some hand weights today, and I just have the option of a pillow. The pillow is useful to put underneath your head or your pelvis if you feel any kind of muscle strain happening during class. So it's just an option, okay? And we would need to make sure that we removed the pillow before we did any kind of bridging or bottom lift. So we'll have our dumbbells handy, and we're going to come to our side and then roll to our backs on the mat. We'll get ourselves organized, bring the back of your neck into a nice alignment so that you're looking straight up at the ceiling. That's not possible. If you feel like you're looking overhead, that would indicate the need for the pillow. We'll place our hand weights in our hands. I recommend that you start light and you can always add on, okay? Pull your shoulders down your back, place your feet flat on the mat, about sit bone width apart. And we'll just take a couple of bottom lifts or bridges to start with. So the bottom lift is a very low lift. It's appropriate for someone who has bone density loss, which starts with osteo something, penia or porosis. And if you don't have that going on, you can lift higher up to where your shoulder blades are standing on the mat and lower down. So we'll choose an appropriate height. Let's just do a few more bridges. And you can be helping with the backs of your arms if you like, or you could extend your arms up toward the ceiling and just have your shoulder blades setting on the mat. So again, our bone density loss friends will just be lifting up a little bit, keeping most of your rib cage on the mat. Okay, so let's just do two more. Lifting, hopefully you're feeling your buttock muscles work. Buttocks work first, hamstrings help. Okay, and one more. And we keep breathing and our abdominals are pulled inward. Perfect job. And then we'll keep our hips down and reach up toward the ceiling so that your shoulder blades kind of round around your rib cage and pull a little bit off the mat. And then set your shoulder blades back down, leaving the space between them wide. So we press up and down. Okay, and so this is what we know of as our shoulder slaps, but instead of just like dropping our arms down, we're going to just gently lower the arms. So the shoulder blades are sliding around your rib cage in a nice even rhythm. And we'll just go ahead and reach up one more time and then down. Perfect job. So now let's go ahead and take a moment here. Pull up your pelvic floor just very gently and then lift up your hips, buttocks first. And then we'll go ahead and stay in this bottom lift or bridge. Soften your elbows and open your arms out to the side and then bring them back. So we're breathing as we open our arms. We're exhaling as we bring them back. So this is a hug a tree or hug the air motion with our arms, with our dumbbells in our hands. And we're staying up in the bridge and just working on some endurance in our buttock muscles. And we'll do two more here for a set of 10. And making sure that we're being very conscious about our range of motion in our shoulders. We come back up to center and then lower down our hips. Let's lower down our arms as well. Release the hand weights down to the mat beside your hips. And let's take one leg in our hands and reach our hands around the back of the thigh. And then dorsiflex your foot as if you were going to stand on something. And then press your foot up toward the ceiling, extending your legs straight. And then pull your knee back in towards your chest. So the thigh is moving toward you and away from you. And when you press your leg into your hands, you're trying to get your quad muscle tightened up. So that provides an active stretch for the hamstring. So we'll do that a few more times. And as I've mentioned in previous classes, this is the hamstring stretch I do before I get out of bed every morning. I have a tendency in my body to be tight in my hamstrings. So I find it just helps me, walk a little better in the morning. And one more. Perfect. And then let's go ahead and take the same leg, Cross that ankle above the opposite thigh and see how you're feeling in the upper hip and the posterior here. If you need more in this figure 4 stretch, we'll just bring your standing leg in and maybe come up onto your toes of your standing leg. And it's okay too to play around with like pressing the thigh away gently, but just remember we're not quite warmed up yet. So any movement that you're doing right now, assisting the stretch, just be really gentle with it. Take a few breaths here. Sometimes people will not feel the stretch at all. And in that case, I say congratulations, your piriformis muscle is a desirable length tension. And so I can count on one hand the number of people I've met that didn't feel this stretch. So I'm not sure what that says, but anyway, let's go ahead and stretch the leg up toward the ceiling one last time. Take a breath and we'll change legs. Okay, so pull your other leg in. I didn't specify, so whatever leg you didn't stretch, pull it in, flex your foot as if you're standing on something, and we'll start on the new side. And just take note without judgment if you've got one side that feels tighter, maybe one side feels easier. You know, this is normal. It's our normal human condition. We're just pulling our thigh in toward our chest and then pressing our leg into our hands and finding the contraction of the thigh muscle, a quadricep muscle that helps us lengthen our hamstring. And one more. Perfect. And then we'll cross that ankle over the opposite thigh. And if you don't feel enough stretch, you can bring your leg in a little closer and again, gently play with how it feels to maybe press that thigh away, take it or leave it, keep breathing. We need to stay in our static stretches 20 to 30 seconds. So the stretch is effective. So we'll just go ahead and take one more breath here. And then we'll unwind. Hold your leg in your hands again. And then just pull your leg in and give it one last stretch. So from this position, straighten your leg, your same leg that you're holding as much as possible. And now you don't have to dorsiflex your foot. You can more point your toe or make a Barbie foot. Good. Then round your elbows. Now pull up into belly. Okay, pull up into pelvic floor and then bring your other leg out, hovering in the air. Okay, so we'll take a breath here and you push, pull the leg you're holding and then switch the leg you're holding. And we'll keep switching back and forth. And as we do this, you can choose to maybe pull, pull, pulse, pulse, pull, pull, pulse, pulse. And this is our single long leg stretch from our mat work with the head down, appropriate for people that have neck issues or bone density loss. And if that's not you, you can pause for a moment, roll up onto your bra strap line, make sure that you can look down towards your belly. Okay, if you're looking up toward the ceiling, that can strain the neck. So it's important to look down toward the belly when your head is lifted. Of course, if you've got your bone density loss that you're taking care of, your head is still down. Okay, one more time, and then we'll bring our knees into our chest. If you had your head lifted, lower your head, and let's go ahead and take our knees around in mirror image circles here. So we just take our knees around, stirring the femur bones and the hip sockets, kind of letting the pelvis gently rock a little bit and go the other direction. Just keep breathing. Perfect. And we'll hug our knees in, take a breath, and then place our feet back down on the mat. Let's find our hand weights. So we have hand weights in our hands, shoulders are down. Let's go ahead and just lift our hips and lower them just to organize our spine. Okay, great. And we'll bring our arms up toward the ceiling, bring the shoulder blades down onto the mat. So your arms are straight up. And think about the hands that are holding your dumbbells being more over your chest than your face. Okay. All right. So let's exhale our right leg up into tabletop. Okay, and then we're taking the right leg and the left arm. We'll be extending them long away from the center of the body. So let's move very slowly so that the right arm doesn't move. You feel in your abdomen how your abdomen becomes tight and maybe draws inward a bit. Okay, and then we'll bring our arm and leg back. So let's do 3 more and just feel the diagonal pull here and see if you can feel that you're able to stabilize your back on your mat. And 2 and 1. Perfect. And let's switch sides. Left leg comes up to tabletop. Right arm and left leg will move away from the center of your body long and then come back. We're just doing 4. So we'll set up our diagonal recruitment here. And just notice if you feel one side is again easier than the other, and see if you can find your diagonal from the right rib cage to the left low ab, and that was 4. Nicely done. Okay. So we can continue doing one leg down and one leg up, or we can now go into a close tabletop. Okay, so chair position is a little farther away. Let's bring the legs in close. And then we'll take the right leg and the left arm and do an opposite arm and leg reach. And part of our discipline, let's see if we can get 10 today. Part of our discipline as we continue to breathe is to not move the other 2 limbs. So because you have to use your abs here, you're just using some smaller breaths. Okay, so we're not trying to breathe diaphragmatically. As we extend our leg and our arm away from the midline of our body, of course, our core has to stabilize that weight. So we just keep moving with our breath, taking little breaths, and 9 and 10. Good. Let's go ahead and take our knees into our hands and take your knees around in a circle going around the sacrum. And we'll go the other direction. Kind of roll around the sacrum. Give ourselves a little break. And then choose whether you're going to have your left leg down or up in a close tabletop. We'll bring our arms up toward the ceiling, and then we'll be doing our right leg and our left arm extending. Okay, so we'll do 10 here. And again, we're finding that diagonal. And just breathing. So we take a little shallower breath as we are keeping our abdominals engaged. Be careful about the height of your leg in the room. So you see my leg in the room is only going to about 45 degrees. That's because today, that is what is required in my particular body to keep my spine stable. So you will have a different body that you're working with naturally, and that's our set. And let's go ahead and take our knees around in a circle. So of course we want to take care of the body that we're in, and we'll go the other direction. Good. So let's go ahead now and bring both feet down to the mat and bring your arms up toward the ceiling. We'll do one little lift and lower of the hips just to organize our spine again, maybe lengthen. Okay. And then let's play with bringing both arms overhead. So as we bring both arms overhead, notice at what point your rib cage lifts off the mat. And then bring your arms back over your chest. And now see if you can keep your ribs on the mat without trying or efforting to pull the ribs in front down, okay? So we don't want to constrict our rib cage. What we want to do is find our range of motion where we can keep the ribs and back on the mat. Okay, so let's just do a couple. And usually what I find is that most folks, unless you have extremely flexible shoulders, are going to need to stop at or before cheekbone height, okay, with your arms going overhead. So let's do one more, see if we can determine our range here. Good. And then we'll take our right leg up in the tabletop, and let's do 4, extending the right leg and both arms, and just find your range. Take it nice and easy here. So we just breathe and come back on our exhale, and just keep moving with your breath. And 4 And let's go ahead and change sides. One, good, and just keep thinking about your rib cage staying nice, dropped down toward the mat, and you're breathing. And 4, perfect job. So now we can continue to do one leg in the air and one leg on the mat, or we can bring both legs up into a closed tabletop. Right. So with both legs in the closed tabletop, be careful about how low your legs extend. So it's better to just go high as you bring both arms and both legs long, and then come back and then decide if that was enough or not. And if it wasn't enough for you, you can always go lower. Okay. And again, we'll do 4 here. So we're reaching and extending and coming back. And 1 more. And coming back. Go ahead and take your knees into your chest and take your knees around in some mirror image circles for a moment. And we'll go the other direction. Perfect. And let's go ahead and bring our feet down to the mat again and bring our arms back up toward the ceiling. Pull your shoulder blades down. So now we'll take our arms down beside our hips. And as we do this, lift your hips. Okay, and you can even press your arms down onto the mat and then lower your hips as you raise your arms. Okay, now our breathing. We'll inhale to bring our arms down, press your arms down onto the mat, and then lower your hips as you raise your arms. Let's do 6 more. So we'll lower the arms, press, squeeze your glutes a little bit, not like tight, but just like lift, squeeze, and 3, and 4, and just continue breathing. Find it in your abdominals to help stabilize your torso as you're doing the lift and the press. And 1 more. Perfect job. And we'll just give our arms a little bit of a rest. Let's place them down. Take your hands out of your hand weights or off your hand weights and take your arms out to the side. And we'll take our knees and ankles together and then keep your knees and ankles together and sway your knees over to one side and then sway your knees over to the other side. Good. Think about inhaling as you go to one side and exhaling to use your abdominals to return to center. So we inhale and then we exhale. And inhale and exhale. Good. And just see how much control you have in rotating your torso like a cylinder, keeping both shoulder blades on the mat. So you're feeling a stretch in your chest. And just keep going back and forth a couple more times on each side. Perfect. Then when we come back to center, we can decide if we'd like to do this at a closed tabletop. So when we start this motion, be careful about your range of motion. One of your hips will lift and your weight of your legs going off to the other side. I think of this as my abs have to catch the weight of my legs to bring them back to center. Okay. You can press your arms down into the floor. And then if you need more, straighten both legs. And then we go into a tick-tock pattern. Okay, just swinging back and forth, breathing, stopping before the shoulder blade lifts on the opposite side. If you need more assistance in your low back, you can put your hands underneath your pelvis. Okay, and then next time we return to center, let's draw a little circle on the ceiling. Circle, go the other way, circle, go the other way, and circle, and other way, circle. Let's do 1 more on each side, circle, and circle. So that was your corkscrew pattern, corkscrew prep. Let's bring our knees in and just take your knees back and forth. Just kind of rock your pelvis a little bit. Let's take a few breaths. That was nicely done, everybody. So from here, hug onto your shins. And let your elbows be nice and rounded, okay? And again, make sure the back of the neck is nice and long. Squeeze your thighs and your ankles together and leave them squeezing together. And then without our weights this time, we'll bring our arms overhead and extend our legs to an appropriate place in space. Then circle your arms around as you bend your knees and pull your shins in. And of course, if you don't have bone density loss and wish to lift up your head, you may. You can do this while you're holding onto your shins and then keep your head lifted, and that'll change the range of motion of your arms going overhead. So the arms still will not pass the cheekbones. Okay? If you tried that and wished you hadn't, you just put your head back down, right? And one more. Inhale, extend, exhale, come back. That was lovely. So we'll take another breath here. And then let's go ahead and give ourselves a little break from laying on our backs. We'll take our dumbbells and roll over to our side. So we'll have dumbbells in front of us, ready to be used in a moment. And let's get ourselves organized so that we're front of the head to tailbone lined up with the back of the mat. And then we'll take our legs and just bring our legs a little bit forward so that we're flexed at the hips slightly. Okay, so we kind of have this a little bit of a bias toward using our abs here. So now your bottom foot can be flexed as if you were standing on the mat, and you are pressing your bottom leg into the mat. So we'll lift our side waist, pull into tummy, and then bring the weight up over our armpit with a straight arm. So your palm is facing forward. Then we'll lift our top leg. So the top leg does not have to be flexed. Okay, if that's causing you some tightness in the back of your leg. And let's bring our leg forward and back. So we'll flex forward and point back, or you can leave your foot neutral if the flex and point is really causing you some discomfort in the back of the leg. We breathe and just notice how your body wants to move and how much work you need to put into the bottom leg and your core in order to avoid going into excessive movement in your trunk. Let's do one more. Good, and we'll bring our leg down and our arm down. So when your arm was up and you were holding the weight, your shoulder had to stabilize a little bit, didn't it? So this is kind of a tricky way of working the rotator cuff, okay? So we'll take the arm back up over your armpit. Good, let's lift the corners of our mouths, lift our waist, and lift your top leg. And then we'll take some circles with the top leg. So let's do 5 small circles in each direction and focus on your abdominals and your breathing. So you want to keep pressing down into the mat with your bottom leg. And that was 5 in one direction. Let's change directions. And keep your abdominals working to keep your spine stable on the mat. So that you're not rocking back and forth. And 5. Oh my goodness, that was quite a bit of work, wasn't it? Okay, so let's bend both knees. Right? And we can take a break from holding the weight if you like. Just rest your arm and we'll just come into some simple clams. So keeping the feet together as you rotate your top leg up. Now notice with your hand on your hip, you can feel whether your hip is rolling backward. You can also take your forearm behind your back and feel whether you're staying stacked in your hip joint. So since we're going into a lateral rotation, sometimes the hip wants to follow the leg. So we're trying to not let that happen. And 10. Okay, so that was fun. Let's go ahead and come up onto our hip in a forearm support. So I know we only have 2 arms, but work with me here. So, right, so let's pull your shoulder down your back. Okay, so you've got an elbow to shoulder alignment, and then just press the mat away so that you lift your waist away from the mat. For some of us, this may be enough. Okay, if it doesn't feel like enough for you, Then you can continue pressing up and you extend your hips forward. So now you're on your knees and shins. You can extend your legs. You can come all the way up. So lots of choices, and we just want to choose the plank, side plank that feels like it's most effective. Okay, and FYI, you don't need to have your feet stacked if you do come up into the side plank. It's a lot tougher. You can have either leg forward, depends on where your strength is. And then we'll go ahead and lower down. Nicely done. Okay, so let's flip over to the other side. We'll take our weights with us. We'll line ourselves up with the back of the mat from head to tail. Okay, good. And then bring our legs slightly forward so we're a little bit flexed at the hip. Okay, the bottom foot is dorsiflex and pressing into the mat. And the top foot, you can give yourself a little bit of a bye if you're very tight in your hamstrings, okay? And not have to flex your foot as it comes forward. So you can just leave your foot neutral. Dumbbells up, palm is facing front. We lift the leg to hip height. Flex to come forward if you can, and point to go back if you can, okay? That's not accessible. Just swing your leg back and forth, keeping your foot neutral, and keep pressing down into the mat. So we're doing 10 here. Yes, I'm counting, and we're breathing. Maybe we've got the corners of our mouths lifted, and we've got our head in a neutral position too, by the way. So once you've got yourself set up, try to look straight ahead instead of down towards your foot. And 9 and 10. Perfect job. And then we'll rest down, rest the arm, rest the leg. Nice work. I'll take a breath here. And let's lift our sideways, pull into belly, make sure we're still stacked. Bring your arm up so that the dumbbell is over your armpit. Press down, get to the floor. Lift the top leg, and we have 5 circles in each direction. So we're just being very mindful about our circles, using our abdominals to keep ourselves stable on the mat. And other direction, just keep breathing. And that was 5, and we'll lower the leg, and none too soon. And then we'll go ahead and bend both legs. Okay, we can give ourselves a break from the hand weight, and we can use our hand on our hip to see if we're holding ourselves stacked and stable as we come into our simple clams. Good. Also check behind you for a moment, just make sure. It's very common for people to feel like they have a different range of motion in one hip to the other. So we just work with what we have and appreciate what we have. And 2 more. Nicely done. Okay, so let's go ahead and come up to our forearm. I won't make that terrible joke again. And we'll pull our shoulder blade down our backs, okay? And then press the mat away, okay? So that you're lifting away from the mat before you ever lift. Then if you need more, you can go ahead and lift up your hips, extending your hips. You can stay there. You can extend your legs and extend your top arm no matter where you are, and just enjoy the strength that you're building. So we take our breathing in small sips, small steady sips. And we keep our abdominals engaged. And then we lower down. And that was very nicely done. Good, so since we're up, let's go ahead and come into hands and knees for a moment. So we'll take our hand weights right next to us, right underneath our chest, in fact. And let's just organize our knees below our hips and our elbows and wrists below our shoulders, and we'll come into some little cat-cow movements. So we'll think about our breath guiding our movement. Just have it, try to have it be organic, as far as not feeling like we're pushing excessively into the mat with our arms or knees, just allowing our pelvis to lead the movement. So we go into a little bit of a tail tuck and a little bit of a tail lift, making sure that it's a comfortable movement for all of us. So when we emphasize the lumbar, so many of us, we are working on posture, and sometimes our tendency in this lovely movement is to push up into the thorax, and we may not need that. So working on the pelvis here, we're actually warming up our low back, wonderful thoracolumbar fascia, whatever that is. And then we'll come back to center. And if your wrists are bothering you, you can place fists down. You can come down to forearms, okay? And then we'll take our dumbbell in our right hand. Then your left hand or fist is standing on the ground. You're going to extend the left leg. So we have toe pads on the mat for the moment, okay? And then we'll bring our right arm up beside us, extend it long, and then take your arm away from you in a semicircle right to shoulder height, and then retract your arm back beside you. So it's extend, semicircle, and then retract the arm, okay? So this is kind of a sort of a breaststroke pattern, but we're not really going overhead, just to make sure that we're keeping our neck and shoulder as safe as possible while we're holding the weight. And as we do this nice circular movement back and circle around and to your side, you may be feeling some interesting work going on in the right hip, okay, and the muscles there, right? So that's a little added fun part. That's stabilizing. So we're getting that, we're loading that hip, we're working on stabilization. And we'll go ahead and let that go. Now let's do the other side. So I'll just turn myself around since you're over here, and we'll take our left hand dumbbell, right leg extended, toe pads down on the mat, and then bring your arm up beside you, elbows beside you, extend your arm, and then semicircle it around to shoulder height, and then retract your wing. So we're doing 10, by the way, and extend, and then just kind of observe what's going on in your hip. So when we think about building bone density, we have to load our bones. We have to load our bones more than they're used to, okay? And so things like this, where we're preferentially loading one hip, one femur more than the other, can help to, elicit some response in our bones and our muscles. And 9 and 10. Nicely done. So let's set the weight down. Let's take your knees apart, toes together, and press back into a wide-legged child's pose. So we have a little wrist break, okay? And if you want to rest your head, you can put fists stacked on top of each other and put your forehead on your fists and just take a few breaths here. Stretch out our glutes and our low back a little bit without going into flexion. And one more breath. Good. So let's come on up. And we'll do one more. Now, if anybody is uncomfortable laying on their belly, you can use a pillow underneath your abdomen to help relieve any issues in your back from going into extension, or you can potentially just do this exercise in a standing kneel. Okay, so I'll show you what we're doing first. So the feet stay down, toenails stay down, and you're looking down toward the mat so the back of the neck is long. And then we're going to take our arms beside us, palms down with our weights in our hands. So you roll your shoulders back, and then you're going to pull your belly in, pull up your pelvic floor, and press your pelvis into the mat. And then we're just raising and lowering the dumbbells, okay? And we want to be careful of our range so that we're not going way high, okay? The idea is to keep your chest open, okay? So you can see that if this doesn't work for you in prone, you could be standing kneel or sitting kneel and doing a similar movement with your arms, okay, where you're not having to lay down on your belly, okay, like this, if laying down on your belly is bothering you. There we go. And think about your chest expansion as you're doing this, okay? Good. So little movements, and it's light weights, but boy, you can really feel it in the backs of your arms and shoulders, can't you, and your postural muscles. And then we'll let that rest. So go ahead and just, if you're still on your tummy, place your forehead on your hands. And if you went up onto your kneeling position, just pause for a moment, maybe go on the hands and knees and do a cat-cow. We'll wiggle our hips back and forth. Let's press back. And move into a wide-legged child's pose again. Good work, everybody. Nicely done. So we'll come out of our child's pose. We're going to do some standing work next. So we'll stand at the front of our mat, make sure nothing's behind you that can trip you up. We'll roll our shoulders back and down and just find our nice tall posture. Good. Take a breath. And then as you exhale, step back with one leg, try to land on your toes, lift your arms to the sides. Okay, take a breath there. And as you exhale again, lower your arms and step back to the leg, the standing leg. So let's do about 5 more with the same leg. So we can just kind of map that, coordination, find our body map of what we're doing. So we'll do 6 and 4 and 5. Just keep breathing, just doing your best to hold on to your posture. And 6, that's it, good. And let's do some shoulder rolls between sides. Then we'll go to the second leg. So we step back, land on your toes if at all possible, and then come forward. And step back. Good, just keep breathing. We're doing 6, so this is 3. Again, take note of any differences between sides, how you feel your muscles working, how you feel your balance is. 5 and 6. Perfect job. And we'll do some shoulder rolls here. Good. So now if you are balance challenged today and you feel like you need to be next to something for support or safety, please do that. And then we'll go ahead and keeping your hips level, shift your weight over to one side. Okay, so you can feel that the standing leg, what's going to be the standing leg, tightens up. And then we can bend our knee enough to get our toes, just our tip toes on the floor, or you can actually raise your whole leg. Okay, so just do whatever is safe for you. And then we'll just stand here on one leg and we'll do 10 biceps curls. Okay, it's going to go off the stage left. So when we're standing on one leg, we're putting extra load through that femoral neck, that trochanter area. Last one. Okay, and just come back to 2 legs and just kind of shake it out. We're also working on our balance, which is mostly coming from our lower leg when we're standing on one leg. So roll your shoulders back and down, pull your belly in, lift the corners of your mouth. Let's do the other side. We shift without hiking, okay? Come up to your toes and then remove your foot if you're okay with it. 10 biceps curls. So we're working on balance, fall prevention, and also extra demand on the standing leg. And 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Nice job. Leg goes down, and we're just going to shake it out. Good. So again, standing at the front of your mat, take a breath, and exhale, pull belly in, raise your arms, step back with one leg. Stay there, and as you inhale, rotate your body. And exhale, come back to center. Keep your knee right over your ankle. Inhale, rotate the other way. Exhale, back to center. Lower your arms and step forward. And we'll switch legs this time. So keep breathing. Step back. Inhale, rotate. Exhale, center. Inhale, rotate. Exhale, center. And then step forward. Switching legs again. Step back, land on your toes. Inhale, rotate. Exhale, center. Inhale, rotate. Exhale, center. Arms lower, we step forward. And last one, step back. Inhale, rotate. Exhale, center. Inhale, rotate. Exhale, center. And lower your arms and step forward. Lovely job. So let's go back to the mat. Let's roll, lay down on one side, roll to our backs, organize our necks, organize our backs, okay, with a little bridge. And then we'll take our weights up toward the ceiling. Pull your shoulder blades down. And now we're taking our legs, it's an option. You're taking your legs together, and you can leave your feet down, or you can bring your legs up into a close tabletop and just keep your knees and thighs and ankles together here, okay? So either way is fine. Now soften your elbows, and we'll start with our hug the air, hug a tree. Inhale, open, make sure your elbow is staying at or right above the midline of your body. Exhale, come to center. Inhale and exhale. Good. Shins should be about parallel with the ground, okay? The knees are in close enough that we can feel our belly working without strain in our thighs. Okay, so one more. And of course, you can always change your mind and put your feet down. All good. So now next time our hands come up into our hug a tree position, let's just take the left arm out by itself. So find your diagonal. So we bring the left arm out, bring it back. Let's stay with the left arm so that we can really map that diagonal from the left rib cage to the right low ab. And then also observe what might be happening in your inner thighs. Okay, so if you feel that your left inner thigh has to work a little bit, not to roll with the weight that you're bringing off to the side. Okay, that would be very observant of you to feel that. That is what's happening. So one more. Good. And then we'll go ahead and go with the right arm out. So just take our arm out and feel that our thighs are working, and we're mapping the diagonal from the right rib cage to the left low ab, keeping us from rolling our torso with the weight as we bring it off to the side. And we'll do about 5 more here. Just having a little fun. And 2. And 1. Perfect job. Let's set our weights down. Bring your knees into your chest. Good. So we'll take our legs around in our mirror image circles again. Allow your back and your pelvis to just rock just a little bit. Let's go the other direction. Good. We'll hug our knees in. And now this time, take your right hand to the just the shin bone of your left leg, and take your left hand down to the outer left ankle. So we'll prepare for our single leg stretch. And if you want to have your head up, and you're allowed to do that, right? You could bring your head up and look down, or you can leave your head down. Extend the right leg, Good. And then switch the leg you're holding and switch your hand position. So it's always outside hand to the outside ankle. And we'll just keep breathing. Nice. Choosing a height in the room for your long leg. And just generally, when your head is down, you may need to have your leg pointed up in the room a little higher, okay? Because you don't have the advantage of the flexion in the upper body. So that's okay. Really, the point is, are you feeling the work, okay? And are you able to hold yourself stable and breathe, hey, without strain? And last one on each side. And we'll catch our knees into our hands again. Just take a breath. Maybe rock our knees back and forth, just gently. Perfect. And then we'll go ahead and take our legs down to the mat. Now, let's take our hands behind the base of our skull. And nestle your skull into your interlaced fingers and let your elbows be winged up off the mat just a little bit. So now we get into a little bit of upper abdominal work. So if you feel safe doing this, you can bring your ribs back to the mat and then feel how that allows you to just hover your head ever so slightly. If you do not feel safe even doing that, just bring your ribs down to the mat and keep your head down, okay? So the head hover, we're not going into flexion. We're just sort of levitating our head, and I can still like reach my fingertips down. So we'll just do a few of these and just see how that feels, okay? And if you do not have bone density loss, you can go ahead and press your ribs down to come up and then come up and look down towards your belly, over your cheekbones, and then come back down again, okay? So it is some upper abdominal recruitment that we're looking for, and maybe an upper body lift for those that are safe to do it. Okay, and that would be our non-disc, non-osteoporosis people. Okay, so just a couple more. Good. And then next time you recruit your upper abdominals, pressing your rib cage down, to keep your head down and rotate, you would just rotate around the axis of your spine, okay? And rotate from one side to another without hiking your hips. You're trying to keep your torso nice and long and just rotate, rotate. To do this with the head hover, it's the same idea, but now you're going to feel that you're taking your weight of your body onto one shoulder blade and then the other, okay? And then to go into a full upper body lift, same idea. We're going from one side to the other and, you know, reaching our heart toward our opposite thigh. Now, whichever variation you're choosing the one that's safe for you, you're going to begin lifting the knee or the thigh on the side that you're rotating toward. So starting from the top, when we rotate, and it's keeping the head down, the side that we're rotating toward, that knee lifts. Okay, so we have now a marching pattern with or without the head hover or upper body lift. Okay, so, and then what we can do is turn this into our crisscross pattern. So the next time you come back to center, if you wish, you can actually turn it into crisscross, okay, which you're extending the leg you're rotating away from. And you can also do this completely down on the mat, or in your hover, or in your upper body lift. And we'll do a couple more on each side. Perfect job. Let's come on down to the mat, and then we'll take our arms out and take our knees over to one side and just stretch it out, take a few breaths. I hope your abs got warm. That would be my hope for you. Warm, but staying nice and long and without any excessive tension or strain happening anywhere in the body. And we'll exhale through center and inhale off to the other side. And then we'll come back to center. Good. Let's take our hand weights. I know, but we can do one more thing with hand weights. Back of the neck is nice and long. We lift and lower our hips to organize our spine. Okay. Let's lift our weights to right beside us, not too high, maybe 3 inches. Okay. And then pull into belly and begin to move your arms up and down in little pulses. And if you'd like more, you can bring one or both legs to tabletop. And if you do not have bone density loss, you could bring your head, neck, and shoulders up. And if you do or don't, you could extend your legs. You can leave them in, right? So we're doing our 100 with lots of possibilities of movement in our lower half as we continue the rhythmic pumping with our dumbbells, with our arms nice and straight. And we'll finish that up. Roll the dumbbells down, bring your knees into your chest, take a moment, and then release your legs down to the mat. Good. And from here, let's go ahead, just lift our hips to an appropriate height. We'll just stretch our thighs. Think about your energy going over the tops of your thighs. Yeah. And we'll lower down and lengthen down. And then we can go into a figure 4 stretch here, okay, which is this one, or we can come up for a mermaid stretch, right? So your figure 4 is if you are not comfortable in your knee joint or your hip joint with mermaid, and then mermaid, we can go ahead if you like that one instead, just come on up and go into your Z sit, pull your shoulders down your back. Good. Lift the corners of your mouth, lift your top arm and take a breath. And come on over into a nice side stretch. Breathe. Take another breath. Exhale, come on up. You can come to balance. Grab onto the shin of your opposite leg and do a counter stretch. If you're doing your figure 4, you can switch whenever you feel like it's appropriate. Come back to balance, keep breathing, gracefully float down, move into your side stretch again. You can stay here or you can inhale and open your heart. Exhale, pull your belly in and rotate toward the mat. Okay, we can keep our backs nice and long and then begin to scan our body as we breathe. Think about softening the muscles around our eyes, separating our teeth, releasing our jaw, releasing any gripping in our shoulders. Kind of scan and see if there's any held tension anywhere. See if we can literally breathe into that place and just let it go, let it soften. Take one more breath here. Then we'll inhale to unwind. Exhale to come on up. And we'll switch our legs around. Then we have our shoulder down our back. The other arm is up. Corners of the mouth up. And we'll come on over. Take ourselves a nice side stretch. And if you're doing figure 4 on your back, just repeat on the tighter side, right? And we'll exhale, come up and balance and hold on to your shin and reach up toward the ceiling for a counter stretch. Take a breath and come back to balance, gracefully float on down, move into your side stretch again. You can stay here or you can inhale and open your heart. Exhale, pull belly in and rotate your rib cage. Keeping our backs nice and long. We'll just breathe. Just going to do our body scan here again on this new side. Releasing tension from the eyes, the face, the jaw, the teeth, throat, shoulders, back, breathing. Just Deep breathing. Have gratitude for our lives and our bodies, the vehicles that we travel through life in. Take our time here and take good care of them. We'll take a couple more breaths on this side. And we'll inhale to unwind. Exhale to come on up. We'll unwind our legs. And then we can roll our shoulders back and down and lift the corners of our mouths. And then we'll stay that way till I see you again. So good work, everybody. And
Great